Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Dana again, and today you're at Research Road. This is a weekly series where we go through science and tech news with a bit of dry humor. Then we answer some questions from y'all. Today is the 15th of October, 2024, and on this date in 1973, Dolly Parton released the hit single Jolene. So, starting off with tech news, MIT is working on robotic limbs to help astronauts recover from falls. The limbs would come out the astronauts' life support backpacks. The moon's gravity makes it hard to get up from falls, as astronauts during the Apollo missions discovered. The robotic limbs would help make sure the astronauts on the Artemis mission don't end up like turtles on their backs or their faces. Check out the footage of Charlie Duke after he fell on the moon in 1972. The Artemis mission is likely to spend a lot of time using tools, which would increase their fall risk. U.S. defense officials are bragging about their secretive space plane, which seems like something that shouldn't happen with a secretive project. But they said, quote,
"The X-37B Orbital Test Vehicle, OTV-7, will begin executing a series of novel maneuvers called aerobraking to change its orbit around Earth and safely dispose of its service module components in accordance with recognized standards for space debris mitigation."
Ecovacs, which are robot vacuums, were reportedly hacked and made to shout racial slurs at people nearby. And now on to space. A comet about 40 million miles away should be visible through most of this month if you look west right after sunset. If you miss seeing the comet this time, you'll be able to catch it again around the year 82,025. Oh wait, yeah, this is kind of your only shot at seeing it. Images from Hubble have seen the Great Red Spot on Jupiter jiggle. The Great Red Spot is a storm that is larger than Earth. The European Space Agency recreated the sound they believe the Earth made 41,000 years ago when the magnetic field flipped. It's kind of creepy. I'll put the sound down below. Now it's time to talk about the developing climate crisis. Google is reportedly talking to utility companies about using nuclear power for data centers. According to the International Energy Agency, China is set to lead in green energy infrastructure. The country is expected to have 60% of all renewable energy capacity installed by 2030. The United States is falling behind in energy production. State leaders from Maine took a trip to Norway and Denmark to learn about wind power. In the world of animals, 10 years of data about car collisions in Texas suggests that collisions with wildlife increase by 45.8% when there's a full moon. Collisions not with wildlife did not increase. This is roughly the same as other results from similar studies. There are ideas as to why this happens, but no hard conclusions yet. A woman attempted to smuggle 29 protected turtles into Canada via a kayak. A study led to better understanding the diet of 2 male lions from Tsavo. Yes, those lions, the subjects of the movie The Ghost and the Darkness. The 2 lions attacked and ate humans in the late 1800s. Researchers ran testing on hairs from cavities in the teeth of the lions. If you're wondering, those specific lions were preserved in a museum. The research showed a diverse diet beyond the one that's famous, including giraffe, waterbuck, zebra, and wildebeest. The hope is that the research will lead to insights about lion-human conflict in the present. In health news, in Laredo, Texas residents were informed that a boil water notice will continue until further notice on October 13th, after samples showed a continued E. coli presence. The city plans to pause non-essential projects to focus fully on water infrastructure. In somewhat related water infrastructure news, President Biden set a 10-year deadline to replace lead pipes nationwide because, that's still a problem. Whooping cough cases are up 342% since last year. There have been more than 16,000 cases. Just a reminder, there's a vaccine. Now let's dig up the past a little. Scientists in Spain claim to have confirmed the final resting place of Christopher Columbus. It's the Seville Cathedral. Researchers have been able to recreate the face of the largest bug known to ever exist. It's basically a giant millipede. It was about 8.5 feet long. That's about 2.6 meters if you live in a country that hasn't put a person on the moon. It weighed about 110 pounds or 50 kilos. Seriously, are we ever going to convert to metric in this country? And now on to oddities. An interesting theory is being discussed, which could turn our understanding of the universe on its head. The theory of general relativity is, well, generally accepted. It says that mass holds things together through gravity. But a look at galaxies tells us that some of them don't have enough mass. That's where the idea of dark matter, which is a theoretical invisible matter, comes in. But a new study suggests that gravity can exist without mass if there are topological defects. Over time, we'll see if this idea has any substance or if there are some unseen defects with it. Also in oddities, Vance. And now we're going to answer some of your questions.
Has there ever been more hurricanes than are listed as on NOAA's website? I'm sure they are good at projecting by now. If there are more than 26, however, do they just start at A again? And is there a reason they skip the letter Q? We are at Milton now. Nadine, Oscar, Patty, Raphael, Sarah, Tony, Valerie, and William remain.
Yes, it's happened a couple of times, so they used to use the Greek alphabet. Now today there's a supplemental name list. I assume they skipped the letter Q because there aren't a lot of names that start with the letter.
I saw in a comment that you said you liked painfully obvious allegorical sci-fi that still has a decent story or something like that. Then I heard Belle say, you have a spooky sci-fi story for a Halloween special. So my questions are, did you write the story? If so, did you write what you like? If so, what's the allegory?
I had help writing it, but yeah, it's my idea, and yes, I wrote what I like. As far as what the allegory is, I think it's best to let the reader interpret writing. If I did it right, you'll see it. If I didn't do it right, well, I'll be too embarrassed to explain.
Do you believe in the Great Filter Theory?
I think it's definitely a solid idea. If you don't know about it, it's the idea that any species that can achieve space travel has already discovered the means to destroy itself. But I don't necessarily believe that all species will be filtered out. If we know, we can stop it. Right? Right?
Are you ever going to do commentary pieces? Or is it just research road for you?
It'll just be research road, but I think I might inject more scientific commentary at the end or maybe through questions that come in, but I'm not sure about doing a commentary-only episode.
I disagree to a small extent with the idea that aliens will be nothing like us. Animals as different as mammals, insects, and snails have recognizable faces. That level of convergent evolution across animal phyla tells me that there is a high probability that aliens develop a similar organization of features.
So astrobiology is one of my favorite topics. Even on Earth, the more different the environment, the wider the divergence. Think about an octopus. It has what we consider a recognizable face, but its mouth isn't part of it. Their world might send them down a very different track. Keep in mind, an alien world might not even have night and day. If that world evolved in a different way, it would lead to very different creatures. If the vegetation is different, being tall might not provide an evolutionary benefit. That might create non-walking intelligent life. Picture a snake with tentacles, allowing them to manipulate their environment. Those tentacles might also be used to communicate by creating vibrations in the ground, and then they have no ears. You're right that sensory organs would probably be close to the brain and therefore create something we might call a face, but we'll just have to wait and see. This week's quote is attributed to Neil deGrasse Tyson. I'd bet almost anything that life from another planet, if formed independently from life on Earth, would be more different from all species of Earth life than any two species of Earth life are from each other. So that's all the data we have to date. Hope you enjoyed it and hope to see you again soon.